Yeah.
All right, guys, we are live on the Friday morning here, live coming to you from the Entrepreneur Speaker Series. We brought in another wonderful guest today, but first and foremost, thank you so much for tuning in. This is going to be an epic episode with the co-founder of Spiritual Gangster, Ian Lopatin, ladies and gentlemen. But before we're going to dive into the detail, I just wanted to say, thank you so much for tuning in live, and we're so proud of all of you that are out there building their brands, building their hustle, and creating businesses of significance, right? Because that's why Ian is here today with you. He built the absolute epic and iconic brand, Spiritual Gangster, and we're going to be diving in here today with my co-host, Angeline Waymeyer, is back on the show here today to interview Ian and to talk about his journey. And I think you're in for a treat because Ian has an incredible story to share, how he went from a law practice in Los Angeles to building a global movement. And it's a very, very appealing name, right? Spiritual Gangster. So we're going to be talking about that. But first and foremost, welcome to another episode. And I'm going to welcome our honored guest here on the show today. Ian, thank you so much for being here and taking the time to be with us today. How are you today on this Friday morning?
Welcome.
Awesome, Rob. Angeline, thanks for having me. Great to be here with you guys.
Thank you so much. I know, Ian, you are so busy, right? I've been getting this interview for a long, long time. Need to book you a long, long time. Finally, you are here. And I'm so excited for you to share your story, right? Because we are in the community of entrepreneurs and investors. So can you share a little bit about your story? Like, how did you get started from the law practice into having your own yoga studio and then building this beautiful brand? I'm a big fan, right? Spiritual Gangster. So tell us a little bit about the journey, and most important, I'd like to hear about what is the biggest challenge for you on this journey and how did you overcome it?
Well, there's a lot of questions in that one question, but I guess I can do my best to set it up. I grew up in Detroit and then actually went to college at Vanderbilt in Nashville and moved out to California to go to law school. And I thought I'd be like an entertainment lawyer, and I ended up becoming an entertainment lawyer. But while in law school, I got addicted to yoga, and I was watching Yoga Boom 25 years ago in LA. And I did, it was a great way for me to manage stress when I was really in law school, and it opened me up to a lot of things spiritually. And I was watching, yoga, there'd be like 5 or 10 people in class in LA. And by the end of the year, it'd be like 40 people, 50 people. And one of the biggest things, and this is like, this story sets it up so beautifully, is learning to like see serendipity, synchronicity, coincidence in your life. And it's happening all around you. And the more you're really in tune to what's happening, like in your present, you start to see these things. So my mom, of blessed memory, used to live in Florida in Boca Raton, and I was in law school, and I was telling her, hey, I got really into yoga, and I went out to see her. And she had always been into yoga, but I never really did it. We had yoga teachers at our house, and she gave me a yoga book. And I flew back from Florida to LA, and I'm sitting on the airplane, and I open up my yoga book, and next to me is this guy in a satin jacket, this Indian guy and his wife. And I have no idea. And he taps me, he goes, you do yoga? I'm Bikram. And I said, you want to see my yoga book? And I had no idea at the time who Bikram was. He goes, I have my own book, 2 million copies. So I ended up landing. I went to the bookstore. I bought Bikram a yoga book, and I was at UCLA Law School at the time, and he was like 10 minutes from me. So I started going to yoga with him. And it's just one of those things. I'm like, okay, if I don't get this, like never have I had a yoga book, and now I'm sitting next to like the most, iconic, famous yoga guy. But those kind of things happen all the time to people when you're on the path. And also kind of when you're, I was watching something that I really liked, and I was watching it kind of happen and become a movement with yoga. And, I think a lot of it, you just kind of like follow, Joseph Campbell says, follow your bliss. My dad used to say, do what you love and the money will come. So I think you have to really figure out things you're passionate about and you can pour your interest in. But I ended up quitting my entertainment law job in LA and moving to Arizona and opening yoga studios. And I actually built the yoga studios my last semester of law school and raised money. I wrote a business plan on it and was going back and forth when I first got my law job. The place opened, but I would teach yoga on the weekends in Phoenix, and fly back to LA in the week and be a lawyer.
Oh, so you do the two at the same time while being a lawyer and then also building your studio part
and I
time.
used my bonus from my law job to create the yoga studios. And like, even, you know, I think a lot of, like, one thing is like, don't quit your day job. Like, you want to build something and have something else as you jump to the next thing. But I also think the next thing will never work. I got some great advice from a friend of mine whose dad was like almost a second father to me. And he said, you know, if you don't go and commit and build your business, it's not going to happen. Right. So it ultimately has to be you. So you know, how you have to let go of this one thing for the next thing to happen. But I think, you know, there's so many challenges along the way. It's like life's about leveling up and learning, right? So you're constantly learning and growing and figuring out what you need to learn to get to the next level. And at every level, there's all these different challenges around everything every day, right? You're learning how to navigate things
Yes.
more easily.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think, you know, at any sort of period of any endeavor, you're going to have things you're facing to improve and work through. And, you know, now after being in that, you know, we sold our yoga business to Lifetime Fitness, which was publicly traded, another private, going probably most likely public again, but across the, you know, entire United States. But Spiritual Gangster started as a house brand for our yoga studios. We were making, you know, I used to play hip hop rap music to like Tupac, Biggie Small, Puffy, things like that, and Michael Jackson. And a friend of mine after class came up to me, and I would teach yoga all over the world, and she said, "You're like a gangster, a spiritual gangster." And we started making T-shirts, and, you know, kind of that started to get going, and we were selling it out of our own yoga studio. But then when we were able to sell At One Yoga, which is a yoga studio, then we had Spiritual Gangster, which, for, you know, it's been a business for 10 years, but it was more like 5 or 6 years as an actual business, a couple of years as an expensive hobby. But it's been, you know, something that just kind of evolved naturally and organically. But then again, too, you know, she could have said Spiritual Gangster and I would have never done anything with it, right? So I think a lot of it is recognizing these signs and coincidences, and really taking action and following things you're passionate about and connecting dots.
So what I'm hearing is, Ian, like, you start out become doing law, right? You thought maybe that's something that maybe your parents, your family asked you to do, but your passion, it's like yoga, that's come to you, right, naturally. So then you go to where Phoenix, right, to build a yoga studio, and then Spiritual Gangster just along the way. So what I'm hearing is you not actively pursue like, oh, I'm gonna have a clothing brand. It's all like come to you. Like, is that how do you?
Yeah, I think I'm a very, you know, part of being aware. So what's happening around me? What am I interested in? And then when you figure that, how do you make those things better? And, like, you know, Spiritual Gangster, although it's a clothing brand, it's really about, you know, wellness and lifestyle, and like teaching people to grow and excel and learn, and, you know, being a guide of somewhat sort of levels and different things that we're interested in, and
Yeah.
being able to share. So I think that, you know, but I never was like, I never was like, oh, I'm going to build a big clothing company. I never actually was in the clothing business. I was never in the yoga business. I'm in like 5 other businesses that I've never been in before, you know, because I think that it's like, you know, and I also too I like to do the things that I like to do. So then you can, you know, turn those into, you know, passions into products, and sometimes they're, you know, they're turning into businesses.
And Ian, would you mind if I heard you say that your yoga business got sold off to Lifetime Fitness? And that's interesting because right here in Texas, Lifetime Fitness is a very popular chain, right? There's a lot of members and people, and I'm actually part of the Lifetime Fitness as well. So can you talk to us how you got in touch with such a giant animal, right, when it comes to the fitness world in the US? How did you get connected to Lifetime Fitness, and how did that transaction go? How did it go from being able to sell that off to Lifetime and then adopting that into their programs?
That's a great question. So I think a big thing about life, you know, one thing that is creating opportunities. So when I decided to sell our yoga business turned 13. I'm Jewish. I was like, okay, it's like kind of bar mitzvah. It's like ready to be on its own. I had another friend of mine at the time who owned a big chain of yoga studios called Core Power Yoga. So we were talking about maybe doing something with him. And Lifetime Fitness kind of built the state-of-the-art yoga business right kind of down the street from us, but they couldn't fill it. So I really manifested getting in touch with the Lifetime Fitness CEO. He flew out, he came and saw our place, and in like 2 days, I got a deal with him to sell our business.
Wow.
But I was like ready to sell it, right? Like I had to be ready to sell it. And then the right person appeared.
Wow.
Manifesting that you
and
said
then it was there. I was like, okay, this is the right guy to buy our business. Because at that point, I mean, who's the next buyer for a yoga studio? There was no one. So it was it was, and then it became like I helped, they ended up, I didn't want to run the business. So I literally sold the business on a Tuesday and I played the World Series of Poker main event on the Thursday. I was just like done with it. But then I also helped a friend of mine who had a bunch of yoga studios in Michigan sell his business to Lifetime, and then he ended up running their yoga businesses for the last 10 years.
Wow, incredible.
So I have this question. Is Ian, you're talking about manifesting, right? Be open, and opportunity will come to you. And do you practice this, or this is natural to you, or
both,
can you elaborate on?
Well, I think it started off natural. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff over the years. We got connected through Tony Robbins,
Yes.
So, but I've always been a seeker and a searcher and figured out ways to get better. And, success leaves clues. So, now I have really intense, serious practices, hours a day to create the things in my life that I want. And then I expect to go big for them to come to me. And I also create and then take action. But, there's kind of 3 stages of how things work. There's the planning stage, the anticipating stage, let's say, hey, we're going to go skiing, cat skiing together. And how's it going to be? And how's the snow going to be? And how our friends are going to be? And you create the thing. And I have a morning practice where I journal. I do a 5-minute journal, and I have a whole other book of journals where I write goals for everything that I want to have happen for the day.
Okay.
And that's a big part of it. And the second part is being in the experience. So how am I really there when I show up? How can I see what's happening around me? How can I be present for what's going to happen in my day? And it'll either happen better than I thought it was going to be in the morning, or other things will come up that I'll get to enjoy that I didn't even anticipate. And then the third part of it is really at the end of the day, kind of celebrating those wins or writing them down and reflecting on, how great that was. It's like almost when people go on a great ski trip. I love to ski. At the end of the day, people sit around the fire or have some drinks afterwards and talk about what a great time they had when all these things happened. So I think like life is meant to work like that. So there's practices that can be developed. One of the things that Angeline's husband Carl and I have both gotten into beyond Tony Robbins is Dr. Barry Morgan, this guy who does Energy for Success, and a lot of his practices are incredible and super powerful at creating opportunities and using, what he calls the energy. We talk a little bit about, there's a way of using grit to make things happen that if people think I'm going to work so hard. And hard work's part of it, but if you're using grit, you're not in the flow. Like you look at a great athlete, they work hard, but they're in the flow. And I think that real success happens when you put yourself in flow state and align yourself with all the things around you. And then you focus on whatever's going on, like I think that, like we talked a little bit earlier about scaling and things like that, but it's always about, for me, Spiritual Gangster was always a global brand. It was never, it's always been big. So that's how I've seen it from the beginning.
So would you say that the manifestation process, and this is something that we talk a lot about internally because it has happened, I've seen it happening for Angeline, it's happening for myself as well, and it's part of the philosophies that we teach to our students and communities. But would you say, Ian, that it has always been in your mind, even when you were small, even when you just got started, even before the sale to Lifetime Fitness? Do you think that has always existed in your mind?
100%. Yes. But I've also gotten way better. And then I've been able to see, like, like I said, success leave clues. Like, I've worked with people from like Tony Robbins to Robin Sharma and a lot, it's all the similar stuff. Even if, I'm Jewish, but I watch Joel Osteen. There's certain messages that are very high vibration free. And I read a lot, so I'm always educating myself. And I think too, you can connect the dots between, and also too, we all know this stuff. This is how it's meant to work for us, right? It's not like the secret isn't really the secret, but it's also not, but the idea is it's not really, but for whatever reason, people become disconnected and there's a lot of misinformation. And, people think like, oh, I had some success with grit, so I'm going to grit it all out. But that's not how it's supposed to happen. You're supposed to enjoy your life, and it's supposed to be abundant, and it's supposed to be in the flow. And if it, one of my favorite symbols, it's the yin yang symbol. And there's two different sides of the yin yang symbol. There's the white side and the black side. On one side, you're winning. On the other side, you're losing. Most people are on the wrong side. The whole idea is getting on the right side and staying in the energy of the right side. And, before this podcast started, Eileen's husband, Carl, popped in. He just got out of the cold plunge. But there's all these practices that can be done to boost your energy, your vitality, your frequency, that will allow you to get your sensors open, that'll allow you to win. And I think that if you're stuck in a poorly lit office and you're not doing any physical practices and you're consuming junk food, junk news, you're at a different frequency. It's a different reality. You have to
Yeah. And Ian, make sure I capture those three things because it was really good. You said the first one is what? Planning, creating?
There's like three phases of everything. The first thing is what's going to happen. So what do I, it's like I have a goals journal. So the first phase would be like, what do I want to have happen? What do I want to have happen in my relationships? What do I want to have happen in my finances? And on a daily basis. And we also do like yearly goals, right? But I think you want to have, that's part of the thing. Like, you anticipate about I've been a board member for Make-A-Wish now for like 8 years. And this is the whole premise of Make-A-Wish. These kids have these terrible illnesses and you replace them thinking about their illness with this unbelievable experience. They get to choose what they want to do, the best thing they could ever do. And then they get to plan the trip. And there's all this like 6-month thing up to creating the wish, right? So that's the first part of this process of life. Like, what are you thinking about? Can you replace like the fears and the negative chatter with this amazing experience that you want to have, or your business, or and build it and think about it and create it? But that's part of like the joy. And then you have the experience, and then you revel in it, enjoy it, love it.
So that's phase one. Yeah. What's a phase two?
Is being in the experience. So, you see people who are in the experience, but they're not there. They're like checked out. So can you, whether, for me, a big thing is not being on my phone when I'm with my kids, or like, I love the NBA. Like, can I go to the game and not be on my phone? I had a total blessing. I left my phone in Colorado for 10 days, and 90% of not having the phone was better. 10% was kind of challenging.
Yeah.
and what's the phase three?
And phase three is the at night, the reflecting, the really enjoying. When you have a great thing, and even if you share that experience, like what I get to share with you, or that actually makes it even better. So like celebrating your wins.
So that's what you do on a daily basis. In the morning, you journal, right? And then during the day, you be in the experience, and then
fully.
And then what time do you normally do the reflection? Is that before bed? Is that certain time that you set yourself?
Yeah, usually at night before bed, and then or over dinner sometimes. And if certain nights I don't get the reflection tonight, I'll do it the first thing in the morning before I start the process again.
Oh, okay. You always reflect before you plan.
Yeah, well, because you want to relive and remember, and reflect on the good stuff. And you're basically creating neural pathways. You're creating these channels in your body so you want to remember your wins, and you want to book more wins, and you want to keep using the momentum. Say, okay, the whole idea is you want to build a platform to have a life. It's not just about having money and no relationship or no health. You have to be healthy. You have to have vitality. You have to have a great family. You have to, have to have, I like to call it oxygen money, but like, it's like money's like air, right? You never think about, is there going to be enough air for me to take a breath here, right? There's air, right? Yeah. But so that's like an abundance philosophy to have, that there's always more than enough. You just have, and there's also ways to, when you start generating and connecting dots and value, abundance flows.
And we have this question from the audience from Kina. She said, can you share the experience that the challenge where you building your business and creating what you envision? How did you work through to continue to success, even though the challenge is there?
I mean, there's always going to be challenges, and that's part of, like I have my trainer coming over after this call, and when you work out different muscle groups, it's challenging, it's straining, so there's always going to, and we're on this planet to learn and grow. So show me someone without challenges, you're not going to want their life, and when you start to learn to win in the face of challenges get bigger. It's like if you ever played video games, level 2 is harder than 3 or 4 and 5. So whenever you're getting through what you think, there's always going to be something there. You want to have things out in front of you that you're always, reaching for the energy for. And I think it's, it's a lot about mindset. I mean, how are you viewing it? And, I think, I think that what I don't know much about the Chinese language, but the same characters for obstacle is opportunity. So like the same thing is how you're going to look at it. Like, what's the opportunity for me, and how can I learn and grow, and how can I use the energy to get the challenge happily, gracefully, without getting grit or getting pissed off. And that's the thing where I think it's super important to like manage your own psychology, because you can take things so personally and you can blow them out of proportion, and you can get down, pathways that aren't win-win. And there's when you're in the flow, when you're in the energy, when you're an entrepreneur, when you're creating experiences, the more you create win-win things, the more it keeps feeding itself. And, my dog is barking in our background, my little dog here.
Oh, it doesn't hear that much. Yeah.
Oh, great. I'm going to see him in a second right now.
Okay. Yeah, Rob, what is your biggest takeaway so far? Isn't that amazing?
It is absolutely amazing, because I think that so many starting entrepreneurs, they only look at, let's say, the features and benefits, right? Which is building the business, coming up with a concept, all the little nitty gritty things of operations and systems. But it sounds to me, and I start to see the pattern from all the guests, right? We have some highly successful guests coming on the show, Ian, and I start to see the pattern that most of our guests, they talk about mindset. They talk about the internal works before the exterior. So I definitely start to see the pattern, and mindset, it's the majority of this journey. If you can develop a strong mental, if you can, a strong mental fortitude, you can push yourself through challenges and keep focused on these concepts.
Yeah, well, and you're gonna embrace challenges. Like one of the things, like I love to ski, and when you ski, you want to look for more challenging things, right? And I think in business, you're looking, okay, that's easy for me now, or not even, let's get something. And I think life, it's like challenge is not bad.
Yeah,
challenges.
I agree with you, Ian, because I'm working out, right? Starting working out. Thanks to Rob, he introduced me to a great trainer. And when I first started building my muscle from 3 pounds now to 20 pounds. And when I lift 15, I told my trainer, I said, when I lift 15 pounds, I feel I was lifting 5 pounds. So I need some more challenge so I can really resonate with that.
And I think in certain areas of life, people embrace challenge. And for whatever reason, like in other areas, they don't want a challenge. But I think everyone wants some challenge. It's how we grow. Yeah. And how do you learn the lesson happily and easily?
Yeah,
exactly.
And Ian, we have another question coming to you, and it actually talks about vibrations, right? Because you touched on that a few times, vibrations.
The puppy is adding up.
I have these plumbers here, and so my dog is barking at the plumbers. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
Really
it's obvious that the dogs are in high vibration right now.
It's funny.
Yeah. So one of the questions, Ian, which is being asked, like, how do you consistently, right, being able to build such a massive business and an iconic brand like Spiritual Gangster? How do you maintain your vibrations high on a day to day, even though when challenges arise, even though life sometimes happen, even though we have a pandemic, we had a winter storm, whatever it may be, but how do you consistently keep your vibrations high so you can propel forward?
I mean, I would say in times like these are like the times you double and triple down. So there's a
Mm,
whole set of practices. I do an hour of meditation, breathing exercises. I have a trainer who I work with multiple days of the week. But I do the journaling, I do the cold plunge, I do the infrared sauna. The whole time is
mm,
working on my vibration and keeping it. And then two, if things are going more challenging, I'll do 2 hours of the breathing. I'll do more and more and more of it before I go and handle whatever's going on. And all throughout the day, like I do my energy
yeah,
practices.
you always
I'm
do this.
vi- So I realize that, those are the times you need to amp up more. One of the things that, that I think Tony Robbins is the best is like, you have to start with your own state. If you're in a shitty state, everything's hard. If you
Mm,
got a bad attitude,
mm,
whatever it is, it's going to suck, right? But if you're in a great state and you're up for a good challenge, you're going to be able to win and you're going to keep winning. Then you're going to use the momentum that you get in your athletics, like Angelina can talk. I guarantee you, because she's better, she's in more fit, she's having some success there, she's having more success in other areas of her life. It's the
yeah.
way it works. You want to continue to use the momentum you get over here to share it over there. And then you want
And,
to really grade yourself. Like, how am I doing in these areas? Like, really, can you give yourself a score? Like in all my goal journal, I'll be like, every day, okay, I got an 8 out of 10 there. Yeah, I want to do all this stuff. I did half of it. I got a 5 out of 10. So you're constantly monitoring yourself.
and I know, Ian, you spend a lot of hours in meditating, breathing. I don't know how many hours, at least 2 to 5. How many
I'd
hours?
say 2 to 3
Two to
daily.
And then some people may ask you, yeah, Ian, it's good for you, right? You are successful. We have a 9 to 5. We need to work. And how do we have this 2 to 3 hours to do what you do? How would you respond to that?
I think, well, the reason, if it didn't work for me, I wouldn't be doing it this much. I certainly didn't start doing 2 hours. I mean, I started 5, 10 minutes, maybe, not consistently. But as I
Mm,
built these things in as habits, right, now it's harder. I do an hour of these breathing exercises in bed before I get up. If it's 5:30 in the morning, I'll stay in bed from 5:30 to 6:30 and do these before I get out of bed, because I've got 2 little kids at home. They're running around, you
yeah.
know. But I realize that now my kids come in and they hear the breathing, they don't interrupt me, they know it's part of my morning ritual. So
Yeah.
I think everyone's got to find ways to build these in, right? When I was doing the law job and the yoga studio, I had 2 jobs in 2 different states. Now so you figure out ways to make things work, and the things that are working you want to continue to double down on. And I think part of the reason why I'm able to live such really an abundant lifestyle is because I have the energy to do it. But I also realize, if I don't have that energy, I need to go back and build it again, because that's what enables me to be of contribution, to have to really enjoy, to really be in the moment where I'm in the moment and get the
Mm,
most out of it.
mm.
And
You
the thing is, the moment will feed you. There's all these different things out here. These, besides the dog barking, but there's birds flying around. There's birds singing. There's so many different things wanting to communicate with us in our environment, right? And if you can be present for it, those things will feed you and feed your energy.
So
Yeah.
good.
And you mentioned breathing for 1 hour, right? What kind of breathing that you do for an hour?
So I'm going to share with your audience and you. And so there's an amazing teacher of mine. This guy, his name is Dr. Barry Morgan, and he's the only Caucasian who's the Grand Master of Chinese energy medicine. And he is an app called Energy for Success. And
Oh,
on
I have.
that
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and on that app is an amazing, they're free breathing exercises. And then as you do courses, you can take other ones. And there's Dave Asprey, the founder of Bulletproof Coffee, did these great podcasts. But he does one where he interviews Dr. Barry, Dr. B, everyone calls him. And that's a great one for your audience to listen to. And, you know, if you have people who really want to be successful, you know, there's a lot of things you can do that work and don't work. You know, these breathing exercises are a big part of helping me maintain the frequency of winning and win-win. You know, it's like there's different frequencies in the universe. But if you're on a frequency where it's win, 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 and everyone wins, things are going to work.
Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful.
So, Ian, would you mind if we can fast forward and talk a little bit about your plans with Spiritual Gangster and in 2021, right? What are the plans for 2021 for Ian and Spiritual Gangster now that you found yourself in this place where and of course we still have a pandemic going on, but yet you already shared that you're still traveling a lot, you're still connecting a lot. So can you talk to us about your plans moving forward? What's on your vision?
Yep, I'm curious about that too.
Well, I mean, for us, you know, a lot of it is continuing to tell the story of Spiritual Gangster and to share. You know, it's a much deeper story than I think even we're doing communicating it on the surface. You know, we're growing the brand internationally. We're growing the brand to have now some more men's sizes. We're also having larger sizes for women. So we're just making it more inclusive. And we're doing some really fun collaborations. We finished one with the Grateful Dead, which is like my favorite iconic brand. We have a huge thing coming out with Ziggy Marley. So there's some really cool things we're doing there. But a lot of it is just really continuing to build the movement and to build it globally and to build it online. So we're doing a lot more to do video, online storytelling. You know, one of the reasons that I thank you for having me on is, you know, I made a commitment to do more of this, to share the story, to share what we're up to, you know, and just really get to grow the movement.
And I was thinking while you're saying that, I was thinking that in the future, I have all of our team, right? I'm not sure the Spiritual Gangster do this and customize. I'm an abundant wealth creator for all of our team. That would be wonderful.
You are, for sure. We are. And I think, you know, the idea is like it's mindset and mantra. And, you know, for an entrepreneur, there's nothing more important than mindset. And it takes it. That's what it's going to take, because you're going to win and you're going to lose. You know, and it's like to be a winner, you have to learn how to get through defeats and get up the next morning and go. Yes. You know, and then figure out a way to win. Like, how do you find a way to win? And it's like mistake, learn. How can I quickly learn from whatever I did wrong to get to the win? And how do I get to the win faster? The win's always there.
And Ian, so we have audiences right now watching. As a matter of fact, we saw the comments coming in, and from some of them, they have been loyally joining all of our interviews and really taking advantage of all the golden nuggets and the wisdom that is always being shared from incredible entrepreneurs like yourself. But let's say if you would speak directly to that group that is currently in the process of building the business, right, and getting it off the ground, what do you think could really cause that mindset shift from being in the hustle, as you said earlier on, like hustle and grind, towards really getting yourself to a place where it just flows? Because you talked a lot about flow, right? Being in a state of flow, and I'm a big believer in creating that zone for myself as well. But maybe can you talk to us a little bit about that mindset shift from being a small-time entrepreneur to really get yourself to a place where it just flows and it allows you to grow and scale?
I think the first thing is, one, realizing that, like all your entrepreneurs, you are your greatest investment. So to really invest in yourself, take time to go to the gym, to work out, to meditate, to do whatever your practice is, you know, like yoga, tai chi, kickboxing, do whatever, and make that time. You know, there's a great book that every entrepreneur should read. It's like The E-Myth and Why Small Businesses Fail. But it's the idea of you want to work on your business, in your business. You know, you want to be a business owner, not a, you know, you don't want to create a job for yourself, ultimately. But I think that constantly being able to work on your mindset, and when you're in the grind and you're in it, okay, you're on the wrong side of the yin yang, right? So you have to realize that. You have to figure out, how do you get yourself to the other side? And it's not by more grinding. I mean, you got to do the work. Look, it's like we're busy, and we're also putting in the hours. It's not like when you become successful, it's less work, or you're working less. You're probably working more, but you're also figured out how to be way more efficient. You know, now I can do in literally like I'll give you an example. Like I'm on the board of Make-A-Wish now 8 years. I'm going down. We did our Make-A-Wish board meeting at the Phoenix Suns Arena, and we're having to do all this stuff for the live auction. In like 20 minutes, I raised like half the live auction and all the, you know, but it before that would have taken me months, you know, but you become really more efficient, and you've built relationships and you're able to use them. And it's like, so I think that's how things work, right? And then you keep scaling, and then how do you contribute? And I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that continuing to like keep, you know, don't let yourself go. Like your business is just one aspect of your life.
And it almost sounds to me, Ian, that you're saying that you stay consistent on the basics, no matter how small or how big you are, because you mentioned the morning ritual, and one of the things that we're big believers of is we call it the morning formula, right? Have a set of rituals that you do, which makes up your formula. But that is what I consider the basics. So would you agree that you say that no matter how small or how big, you have to consistently work the basics in order to ground yourself, and part of that is, of course,
like the greats of anything work. Like Steph Curry, right? Best free throw shooter in the world. Still makes 100 free throws a day. You think he doesn't know how to make free throws? You know?
Yeah.
But every day, I'm gonna go plug this in. Every day he's making free throws. So the basics are what allow you to be, you know. But if you don't, I think everyone's got to build their own foundation, you know, and their habits that work for them. But I think the thing that I realize, and I've seen from, you know, if you look at really successful people, most of them have these great habits that are hardwired in now because they've done them so long, you know. And what in the beginning may seem hard becomes now it's harder for me not to stay in bed and meditate for 60 minutes in this, you know, I don't miss it. So these things become hardwired and they become who you are. But in the beginning, they're challenging. Yeah. But now after, you know, they say 66 days to form a habit, you know, after like 3 months, it becomes a ritual, or becomes just, part of you. And I think that's the thing, is like, for the people who are listening, you want to build your base. And then once you get that, you keep elevating it, right? You can't do all this shit at once. But like pick one, install one habit, then in another 90 days, install another. You're always leveling up. And then now take that over. And the whole thing is compounding too. So, you know, even my morning ritual is compounded, but you know, wealth gets created compounding. Most people, scale is compound, right? Most people underestimate the value of compounding, and they want to do it all quickly. You know, when if they do it over a course of a period of time, change can be huge, you know, especially over 10 years. You know, I tell people Spiritual Gangster is a 10-year overnight sensation.
10 years overnight.
So, but there's a whole, you know, everything compounds. Your good habits and your bad habits. You know, now I'm around 50, and I see my friends are going in one direction or the other. They're getting healthier, fitter. We love to ski. I play golf a lot. You know, it's important for me to be healthy and vital. You know, and then I have other friends who were great athletes, but now they don't take care of themselves. They don't, you know, and they're not able to do what we're able to do anymore. And it's, you know, and then that goes quickly, right?
Yeah.
So I think.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Ian. I take like pages of notes on my iPad. Like, you see, like, amazing. I get so much notes, and I really appreciate you, and know that you have a very tight schedule, and I really appreciate you being here with us today. And for those of you, Rob, right? If you haven't get on Spiritual Gangster, we gotta be Spiritual Gangster. It's amazing. And I know, Ian, you have a special gift for our audience.
I have a code. I'm gonna pull it up real quick because I had a text to me right now, but I have a code for all of your listeners. Hold on. So it's
Excellent, guys. And
If they go online and type in SGAWC for Abundant Wealth Club, SGAWC, it'll be a discount on all their orders. It'll be good through March.
Oh.
So you said one more time. You said SAHC.
No, SG, like Spiritual Gangster, SG, and then AWC, Abundant Wealth Club for you guys.
Got it. We love that. It's branded, guys. So for all our listeners today and people watching the replay, go and take advantage of this, right? Ian was just so generous to share with us a code that if you go online, right, there's a special gift waiting for you. I assume at the checkout, especially for the Abundant
at spiritualgangster.com. Yeah,
at spiritualgangster.com. So we're going to make sure that this information will be distributed here in the show notes, Ian. But our listeners, they love to get these perks here on the show, because we have people that are building and working and looking up to stories like yourself, right? This is so inspirational, and I really appreciate when you're being so generous with your time, but also bringing something cool, right? Because we have such an awesome community that they love to connect with you. And before we close out, Ian, would you be able to share, besides the spiritualgangster.com website, how else can we follow you? How can we stay connected and be part of your journey?
Be part of your movement, global movement.
I mean, the best thing is if you go on spiritualgangster.com, you can follow us. You can follow us on Instagram, and then there's more and more content and stuff that we're sharing. We're doing some more live classes. We have a whole great thing on astrology, meditation. We're doing some really cool co-brands with just some awesome content. So definitely check that out, and join the movement. We're all in it together, and it's great what you guys are doing. Angeline, thanks, Rob, for having me on, and hopefully this was a good contribution, and your audience likes it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Rob. You're amazing, and go work out, Ian. Get that dial in, fully dialed.
Fully dialed. Yeah, well, that'll be our next one. We're gonna share the story of fully dialed.
Yeah, we're gonna share that next in our next episode. Okay.
Right.
Thank
you.
Have a good day, Rob. Thank you so much, and see you next week. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.